G'day, I'm Mark from Self Sufficient Me, and yes, you might be wondering, if you follow me closely on YouTube, you might be thinking, Mark, where have you been for the last 20 days or 3 weeks? And there's a simple explanation. That's what this video is about. I want to let you guys know what's been happening, why I've been AWOL and not posting any videos or hardly anything anywhere. It's because we've been away on holidays. Cue the kookaburras starting up. It's a wonderful, cool winter's morning here in sunny southeast Queensland. It's about 9 AM, taking the kids to school. Grandma was looking after them for the last 3 weeks, while my wife and Nina, were gallivanting around Europe. We had a friend's wedding to go to in Edinburgh. It was actually at Edinburgh Castle, can you believe that? So it's a great excuse to get overseas and at the same time go to a wedding, look around, and look, we were mainly food focused. You know me, I love my food stuff. I love growing food, so does my wife, and that's mainly what we did. Went to a wedding and then toured around looking at food. So I'm excited to share all this stuff with you. But for now, I'm standing in the dappled shade of some banana trees to shield me from the morning sun so I don't look as harsh. And behind me is a beautiful mulberry tree. We've had a few hot days here. I talked to the cab driver on the way back. He said, you know, we've got up to 27 degrees Celsius through the day here. When that happens, you get the mango trees starting to flower early, you get the mulberry trees start to come into, well, maybe flower, but mostly getting their new leaves. I'm just going to fight through this chicken laying an egg if you don't mind, and the kookaburras and the plovers and everything else. It's a pretty noisy morning. Nature's terrific. And speaking of nature, this European trip that we went on, which took advantage of this wedding and planned a Mediterranean cruise for 7 days going through the countryside of France and Italy. Stopped in at Paris on the way over, London, and did a bit of looking around Edinburgh, and also finished up in Barcelona. So we had plenty of great experiences that I want to share with you guys. They may not be all in one package video. That might be things that I pull from the European trip, like I've pulled from our Asia trip last year. The food stuff that's relevant to why we grow our veggies and fruit in the backyard. Like, no joke, my wife and I would be on a train or on a bus, bussing it through the countryside of Italy or France, and Nina would go, "Hey Mark, look at that, look over there. Look at those tomatoes growing in the backyard. Or look at that fruit, or look at that fruit tree growing just on the main road, or look at those olives." You know, and I'd be looking out the window and we'd be as excited to see how the fruit and food is growing over there in Europe and in people's backyards, and the food growing culture. We'd be excited of that as we would be seeing the Colosseum. You know, and I know that sounds a little bit weird, but that's our passion, and that's what we get excited about. Yes, look, we saw lots of landmarks and it's amazing. We saw Stonehenge and that's fantastic, seeing sort of like the beginnings of mankind and the creativity and the artistic nature of mankind and the ideologies and all that. I get wrapped up with all that old mankind stuff and where we've come from. But at the same time, I just love to see the inbred food culture in some of these countries and continents like Asia and Europe. They just love their food, and it really shows in what they present to you over there when you go to a cafe or something like that, and what you see them growing passionately in their backyards and even at the back of factories. We're driving past industrial areas in Rome and in parts of Italy and France, and the workers there, they'd be doing their factory job, but they'd have cucumber vines and tomato plants out the back of the factory growing, which they'd maintain. Obviously, you know, have a bit of cucumber and tomato on a sandwich or a bread roll, and they'd have it just fresh. I mean, how fantastic is that? What a culture. The culture of self-sufficiency and healthy lifestyle. That's what I love to see. And that's what we got really excited about, and that's what I want to bring to you guys. So over that 20 days, I obviously couldn't do any YouTube videos. I've got a ton of questions that I have to answer, that I want to answer. You know me, I like to answer all the comments on the videos, or as much as possible. I know I might miss some, but I'm going to go through, and it'll probably take me 12 or 14 hours straight with a couple of good brews to get through all your comments and questions and that type of thing. I want to read them all and answer any questions that you guys have. So I'll be doing that in the meantime, making another video for this weekend, something better structured than this, and on a certain subject. So look forward for that. But in the meantime, yeah, the garden looks great. Got back, and the lawn hasn't been made for nearly 3 weeks. My grandmother looked after the kids, and I set the place up to make sure that she wouldn't have to do too much work. Our children are 13, 11, 2 boys, and they do a lot of work around the place. They pick the veggies, water the garden, look after the quail and the chickens and the poultry and the ducks. I like to set the place up so that you could go away for 3 weeks and just leave it be, as long as everything's got enough food and enough water. And at this time of year, it's good for the garden because you get a little bit of rain, maybe once or twice a fortnight, and because it's winter, you don't get as much evaporation, and the plants survive quite easily without daily or even weekly watering. So that makes it easier. Come back, a lot of the plants have grown. The veggie patch looks great. Tomatoes, they've suffered a bit of dieback because of the winter, because it's not easy growing tomatoes here in this climate. So they've suffered a little bit, but still getting some good fruit. Had a wonderful salad for dinner last night. Mum cooked up. I was tired from jet lag. I still am probably looking a little buggered, and just trying to get over the jet lag. But tomatoes are coming on. They're ripening. I've got the Black Russians, the larger tomatoes. Since I've been to Sorrento now and saw what a beautiful little town that is, I just need to grow some Sorrento tomatoes. So I'll see if I can find some, maybe on eBay or somewhere, because I couldn't bring any seed back into Australia. Apparently, through customs, you could bring it in, but then you have to leave it with customs and get the seed tested so it's disease free. So a packet of seeds could cost about $3,500, I believe. So it's hardly worth it. Hopefully I can find some Sorrento tomato seeds here in Australia. That'll be much easier. I think in our modern society, we've lost the art of fresh produce and growing produce in your backyard, and why it was done in the first place. People grew the produce in the backyard, some out of necessity through world wars, where in some places it was compulsory to start a kitchen garden, and in other places it was just a culture that you grew something in your backyard because you couldn't get it from elsewhere. Over the years, modernisation, farming, which is all good, but it has quelled our passion, I think, for a lot of us, to grow food in the backyard, and why I think that's important. I have noticed lately a growth in the interest in backyard food growing, not just for health reasons and organic reasons and trendy reasons, but even for prepper reasons, like economic reasons. People are finding food expensive, and growing in your backyard is becoming a lot more economical. People are worried about the times at the moment. They're worried about supply lines. They're worried about prices. They're worried that economic downturns could hurt them. So they're investing in backyard food gardens, and I can understand why, because it's an investment and it's an insurance against when times go bad. You've at least got food that you can put on the table at a reasonable cost from your own backyard. Anyway, let's wrap this up. Like I said, I'm going to be working on a video and release it this Saturday, a more targeted video. So until then, thanks a lot for watching. Thanks again for all your magnificent support, especially over this last month or so. It's been just fantastic. Don't forget the website, selfsufficientme.com. I'm going to be getting back into my writing as well. Bye for now.